Right. So Kendrick Lamar and Juneteenth, right? A lot of folks, I don't even know if people realize that he did a Juneteenth concert, but apparently Rolling Stone is talking about how he absolutely did this pretty decent size Juneteenth concert out in LA. And not only that, but it was him and Dr. Dre and a lot of folks from the West Coast out there.
Did any
So
stats? Did any stats come out on it, Sharice, as far as like what did the viewership? I haven't seen anything with stats with it yet.
I haven't seen stats for it. I haven't. And it's to your point. I mean, this is a decent sized concert, right? And I think it just speaks to like for all of our content creators that are tuning in, everybody knows how like like lightning fire hot Kendrick Lamar's name has been because of the beef with his because of his beef with Drake and the whole like battle. And then you've got like literally Dr. Dre and a like group of folks from the West Coast with him on it. And I just think that like if this would have been something that happened during like even the early 2000s, it would have been like huge, right? But now since I mean look at this. You've got PG Lang, free lunch, lots of it's done at the Kia Forum. It's in Kendrick Lamar's hometown. And the entire event is, they say here, like a love letter to West Coast hip hop culture. Dr. Dre there, and most people have no idea that this even happened. And some people might want to chalk it up to like, oh, because it was for Juneteenth. I don't think so. I think it speaks to how really tough it is to break through the media wall now and how important it is to really have a actual relationship with the people who are following you and who are loving on you. But what do you guys think?
I think she's. I think like right after the concert happened, though, that's all you seen online was so many people saying like, Drake is over after this concert, after bringing out Dr. Dre, after going back to back with the song, after bringing all the gangsters on stage, or it just had
Alleged gangsters.
so many, yeah, the real
Alleged.
gangsters, and it just had so many ways of people were pushing that content out with just showing just either just the snapshots of the unity type of format, or just showing Dr. Dre passing the torch, so it had so many different ways you could go on that story. But what I was interested in is that they had a little like rollout as far as announcing for the concert, but nobody knew until like that day like Amazon was going to be pushing it on the Prime like free. So everybody who has Prime, which most everybody, or they know their cousin or their auntie that has it, could have watched it, but they didn't let people know until like literally as it was going on. So people who like they missed it. And so I'm it's funny how Amazon does that. And I remember, Martin, you always talked about it, that like they'll have, when it comes to content, but they don't know how to promote it, or they just don't want to promote it, or they don't care. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that these streaming platforms have a problem, but because as consumers, we're used to now searching for stuff, and we're used to like, all right, I'm bored. Let me go open up Peacock, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, Paramount Plus, and see who has the latest thing. Because like the season has ended. To your point, this is now we're in the summer. What would have been a summer season, but because of the writer's strike and other things, I don't know if there's actually going to be a summer season for content as far as what do you call it? Fictionalized content, serialized fictionalized content. There is a couple shows that are running now. I think Criminal Minded is running, and there's one other Mayor of Kingstown. is running. But other than that, the major networks are not running any new content right now. So what does the consumer do? And honestly, whether it's Made in America for YouTube, or I forget the one that comes on, or even Essence Fest coming up. Amazon had Essence for the last 3 years, and I've never seen an Amazon ad advertising the fact that they're live at Essence, which is it's just, I'm not going to go into it.
So
but anyway,
so they actually have the concert, like you could actually see it in live on Amazon.
Not only the concert, bro, they have the conference. They have lectures, they have workshops. And I remind Black women while Essence is happening, you can go over there at Prime and watch it. They're like, really? You sure? Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it's almost like, and I don't want to step on any toes because I know we all have people, over there in different places. So I don't want to, cause our friends to be like, yo, what the but it's like really, but because it is not Black content. It's just, I honestly feel, what Byron Allen did by going to the Supreme Court and challenging Comcast and Charter, that kind of pulled back the veil a little bit to show what happens in the corporate, boardroom of a content company, a company that makes content. And they go, nah, we don't want that audience. It's like 40 million people. Nah, we don't need that. And so to me, to your point, take that and then take what CNN did with the debate and what these other streaming platforms are doing about this conversation around Biden. It's like the content companies are now starting to be like France, the lady from France, Antoinette Marie, let them eat cake. They're like, just here's content, eat that. Like, I don't want that, so it's a real.
What do you mean by what CNN did for with the debate? What are you saying?
I think that I think it's still happening. CNN historically was a place that you had real journalism and journalists asking tough questions. I think CNN saying we're not going to fact check live. I think them saying the stoicness of all their pundits over the last three, since the debate till now, they haven't broken rank once that I know about to be like, yo, except for I think Brian, the guy that used to be on CNN, he did a post on Twitter, but other than that, and he covers news, so he could cover his own, his own colleagues. But they've been like, yeah, so what? This is what they agreed to. This is what both camps agreed to. What we said we were going to do, and we did what we were going to do. That's that. And now the stats came out, I think, not of the stats of the debate, but how much CNN has dropped off. I didn't realize how low they are. They're at 80,000. They only get 80,000 people tuning in an hour. That's crazy.
So here's some things that I think that related to the Juneteenth concert and tying in the CNN thing together. I think that one of the things that we see didn't seem to happen, right, for this Juneteenth concert and for other and for things, like you talk about Essence Fest, like being, streamed on Amazon. I kind of put Amazon Prime and then I look at like Netflix, right? And I think that one of the things that for content and content creators that they do an amazing job of at Netflix is you are going to know when a live is coming soon to Netflix, whether you want to know, whether you care, whether you like this person, if it's on the periphery, even the outer periphery of something that you have tuned into on their platform, they are going to like remind you, and then they also remind you new seasons coming, or new episodes added, and they don't care. They take over your whole thing when you go to log in. And
I would disagree.
I think compared to others, I think they do it compared to their. Here's what I know. Whether I want to know or not, go on, Martin.
I was gonna say, can I give 2 examples? I want to get your feedback on them.
Okay.
The 2 biggest things they did lately, I had no idea. To your point, I know all about what's coming in 2 months from now.
Mm-hmm.
But Kevin Hart's special and the Brady roast, there was almost that Friday. I started to hear rumbles of something, but not on Netflix, not on the platform. And when I went to the platform, I couldn't find the Brady roast. I did see Kevin Hart tomorrow, and that was it, or whoever it was. I saw Cat Williams. Sorry, it was Cat Williams, not Kevin Hart. It was Cat Williams special. Mm-hmm. And I heard about Cat Williams special on Instagram, but not on Netflix Instagram account, which
they knew Cat Williams joint was gonna bomb, so that's why they didn't hype it up.
But so Tom Brady, but it turned out to be their biggest show.
Before Cat Williams wasn't going to do nothing, right? I told you he had that one good.
That's not what Sharice is talking about. Sharice is saying bomb. But Sharice is saying Netflix is the market leader, and I'm theorizing that the market has changed to even the Netflix has lessened their caring about if we tune in or not.
So there's a 3-legged stool. One, the top, whatever you're about to launch or produce or create. And as a marketer who knows better, I break this rule all the time. One, you need to have lead time. And I do think that Netflix does a really good job on the lead time. And generally you want to do, if you can, like 12 weeks. 12 weeks is a good, solid promotional window on something. More than 12 weeks out, yay, like awesome. Because people are not living and breathing by your content. They forget about it. But so there's the time element. And then of course you have to talk about it, which is in line with what you were saying, Martin, that you didn't see it on Netflix's platform. I think that they have a very customized algorithm for them to just be like streaming content. Their algorithm seems to act a lot more like a social media algorithm. If you happen to be brown and black, when you tune in and look at their shows for Netflix, you're going to see, even if it's only the one character in the entire show that's black, they're going to show it to you. And I have some concerns for that. I don't know how, but that's what they do. And it shows that they are very customized in their, how they're presenting it. For when I log into Netflix, I see a lot of coming soon things, and it might be something related to my streaming history with them. I don't know. But I think that that's the fact that you and I are having different experiences with them, I think also is in line with what I'm saying, like have that relationship with your customers, like know which of your customers are like market segmentation is the fancy way to say it, or, having like target audience, a secondary audience, and knowing your audiences within your brand. I think that that's something that Netflix, by the fact that their stuff, even the shows don't have one standard thumbnail, they show up differently to different people. But I do think that they do a good job with the lead time. I think they do a solid job with customizing and leaning into their audience to show them based on who the audience is. But then they also get other people to talk about it. Like when someone has a show or a special on Netflix, you hear that person on talk shows or on other shows, or you hear it referenced in news or on YouTube, or you'll see some YouTuber doing a reaction video to it. And I think that those are 3 things that go great for Netflix as compared to Amazon Prime. I don't know that I've ever heard.
But the funny thing about it, Sharice, when you say Amazon Prime, and which is true, Netflix is actually run under Amazon, under AWS. But what I do remember when they did some type of agreement in there that Amazon Prime isn't allowed to use some of the things that Netflix does, because they have all they run on their system. So I'm sure they have some ways of figuring out like exactly what they're doing and doing all these different things. But they have some type of agreement where they can't copy or something like that. But it is interesting, and I think like the Amazon Prime is something that they just probably have for video, is just an add-on for them, where it's not like a big revenue income for stream for what they do. So it's just like they just slap it in. Yeah, we have it, and okay, whatever. But it's
And that's
nothing
a
like
great point. When you own the house, and for those watching, Colin mentioned AWS. If you don't know what that is, it's Amazon Web Services, and like almost all of us that are putting content on the internet, whether we know it or not, we're using Amazon Web Services on some level to get it out. And to be honest, like, hey, I'm a Coca-Cola girl, proud Coke alumni, proud, previous marketer, senior marketing manager for Coke. One of the things is that, like, yeah, we would go and do things. We might have like,
can I get one of those? Can I get one of those?
You got to come run an entire conference for all the women at Coca-Cola, and you can have one. That's how I got it. I was on the team that put this conference out. Shout out to Monica McCoy, who brought Condoleezza Rice as the keynote speaker for our conference. She came and she actually said a lot of hard-hitting things about like diversity and everything. I was like, okay, come on. But my point was that with Coke, right? People will see like, oh, Coke doing this with that Little League, or Coke with will.i.am. Years ago, we did this whole recycling venture with like furniture, EcoC, which is backwards, Coke spelled backwards, and all that. And you see all these different things, and it's like, oh wow, but for the most part, that's not the main thing that Coke is doing. So it'll be like, oh, they're doing this, but so-and-so's furniture over there is that way, or so-and-so's Little League sponsors that way. So I think that's a great point. Amazon Prime was not the flagship product and is not the flagship product of Amazon, and may well never be. I don't know what their plan is, but yeah, and they own the house that Netflix is playing in. So it's like,
can I give you a quick story how AWC was formed? They have a thing at Amazon. I don't know if they still do it. Whereas if you're someone, let's just say you run a team and you're a manager of a certain group. When people come with an idea, you have to listen to it and put it out and try it, or you have to write like a thesis on why it won't work. So most people, when they create a product or something, they bring it to them, to their manager, their whoever's their lead in their program, and most of them put it through. And that was something that came out of it, just as a one-off. Somebody just came with that idea, and normally because what they were saying, most people come with great ideas, and then the manager or whoever was in charge would always just like, no, that won't work, and never give it a chance. But once they implement it, you have to write out a damn 20-page reason why this won't work. All the ideas and stuff like that started getting pushed, and AWS came out of that, their biggest money maker.
Wow. See, and that's another great example. Like, listen to your folks. So we've done this Kendrick Lamar story for a minute, so just want to give my these are my takeaways for folks. I think I want people to know that Kendrick Lamar did a Juneteenth concert. Maybe that can help us all kind of think, what could we do? We got a whole year to think about activating and having content towards it for next year, for 2025. But also, unfortunately, a lot of people didn't know about it. And so as we all think about our content plans, one, let's make sure we're giving them time to live, 12 weeks plus if you can. And anything under that, still do it. Don't throw it away if it's not 12 weeks. Still do it. Actually make sure that you talk about it. Think about your different customer groups within your brand and speak their language in the different pieces of content that you put out. And then also see who else you can get to talk about it. We acknowledge that Netflix does do a good job of getting people to talk about their other stuff. And it would have been awesome to see everyone who was involved in Kendrick's Juneteenth concert talking about it in other places and other outlets, so that it got amplified even more. Do y'all have any thoughts for the folks, for the creators on the?
I would say for that on that concert, the behind the scenes of that, the setup, the getting ready for it, I'm guarantee you will be a great documentary to watch. So I wouldn't be surprised if they, already have that in the can, and gonna put something out like right before the album drop or whatever.
That would be dope. That would be really dope. Yeah, I agree.
I actually think that is the opposite. I think some of the greatest things, at least in Black culture content, have been things that nobody knew was coming. But the but part is that I think that the Kendrick team or Amazon's team could have did a better job at 2 hour ahead, giving a 2 hour lead time. Like I think they could have done, it would have been phenomenal had it really started bubbling up and it versus like, I think I saw it somewhere, it might be on Twitter or something that said, hey, Kendrick's going to be on. Okay. So this is what happened. Versus the guys behind Versus, Swiss Beats and Timberland released a picture of them and Elon Musk. That started going viral on Twitter because they got a distribution deal with X, and so people were already energy was going this way. And what happened is somebody put a tweet out and said, "Well, at least we got Kendrick tonight," and they were like, "Kendrick where?" On Prime, like, oh snap. And then it was almost like it was a very Black moment, like you hear a whisper in the neighborhood that's gonna be a block party, but like the mayor had shut down, had rescinded everybody's block party, permit, and it's like this one neighborhood that everybody is like, yo, we gonna just leave them alone. And it's like, yo, they having a block party, what? And it's like everybody runs over to that block party. That's what happened. If we could naturally a good example was Dave Chappelle's block parties, like how they organically popped up. So I think there's a thing to learn about organic and how Black word spreads, but it didn't have enough sauce to spread the way it should have. And it could have been a West Coast thing. Because honestly, I gotta say this, and people are gonna not like it, but Black people on the West Coast are a lot different in spreading information than Black people on the East Coast. This is a lot different.
Yeah, it would be cool to see it go viral for sure. And I think that's a good point. Like that, a lot of things that we see, especially when it's got like a big company attached to it, or it's on a huge platform like Amazon Prime, Amazon Live, like the main thing that they're showing at that time. There's a way that things that sometimes are pushed viral, and it would have been cool to see them have that blueprint and make it happen. Maybe they do for next time. And we've got the goats jumping in just to like give us a little yo. So I want to give them some love back, yo. So yeah, that's cool. Also, it is about that red, white, and blue time here in the United States. Folks are talking about 4th of July, Independence Day, and definitely timely to acknowledge and honor those that have, whether you love the United States or not, people who have given their entire lives to fight for freedom and to protect peace here. And this story, for me, I'll be transparent. It's a bit close to home, but I think it makes sense for us to acknowledge that the first Black Navy SEAL, William Harvey Goens from Cincinnati, Ohio, who, when he was born in 1936 and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio, and Laughlin, Ohio, wasn't even allowed to swim in public pools, wasn't allowed to swim in the local pools because he was Black. Whose father and mother faced all kinds of discrimination, whose father was light-skinned but proud to be Black. And every time someone might mistake him for being Black, or call it out. Like one time his dad was at work and the first Black Navy SEAL's mom brought lunch to her husband. She was not as light skinned, she was darker complected. And they said, you're gonna have to tell your maid not to come up here, right? And he said, let me go check what's going on. And he goes out front, and it's his wife bringing him lunch. And he comes back and they said, did you tell her? Did you tell your maid she can't be coming up here? And he said, that ain't no maid. That's my wife. I'm a Black man, right? This happened. They fired him on the spot. But that was the father of the first Black Navy SEAL. The father, his name is Luther Harvey Goens. And this is the type of household that he grew up in, seeing his dad get fired for actually being Black, not being allowed to swim in the local public schools. I mean, public pools. He and his brother Charles would go and swim in a local creek. They taught themselves to swim in a local creek. And then he grows up after being denied all that freedom and takes his brains, his strategery, his courage, his skills, and he fights with us for his entire life. He, the Navy SEAL, and was also not just the first Black Navy SEAL, but was on the first SEAL team ever. And that's William Harvey Goens. And to be transparent, he is my absolute beloved, close, dear uncle, my Uncle Billy. And definitely want to acknowledge his story. And I'm going to switch screens with Martin and Tenji. I know that y'all are also aware of his story. If y'all have any like thoughts on, I guess just, veterans and whatnot overall. But yeah, that's William Harvey Goens. I'm also going to pull up some things that I don't think people know really quick, just about his story and whatnot. The hiphoptruth.com did. A lot of people don't know. And this is where what's in you can come out, like in your content, but in your life, right? He was mentored by, that's him, William Harvey Goens, first Black Navy SEAL. But he was mentored by Nikki Giovanni's father there in Cincinnati, Ohio. In fact, people should know the first Black Navy SEAL, William Harvey Goens, the Isley brothers, Nikki Giovanni, and one of the first, I think, Black NBA coaches. They all went to high school together. And I think that for content, especially honestly brown and Black content in this country, there are so many stories that lie in those high schools that were forced to be segregated. I think there's a story like James Brown and some other people went to high school together, and a few others that folks don't know about that are like amazing. But for William Harvey Goens, the first Black Navy SEAL, he went to high school with the Isley brothers. His nephew, Gregory Say, ended up being a percussionist for the Isley brothers, which is part of why hiphoptruth.com did a story on him. And his niece, Kim Say, ended up being in Parliament Funkadelic. Both of those groups, their music absolutely became foundational for many hip hop songs. And I think that that's something that people don't always do. They don't always tell the whole story. We don't see the whole story behind brands. For brands and for content, you've got, your tagline and what you want to put into it, but you also have your brand history. And then you also have the perception of you. And I know very well, having gone to Hampton, where Uncle Billy was my papa by the sea. Hamptonians, we call Hampton our home by the sea. Uncle Billy absolutely took on being my papa by the sea, very dedicated, so amazing and loving. But he, had this creativity. He, that he grew up around. I think that I would like to believe that supported when he needed to be creative on his missions. He absolutely trusted his training. He would talk about that. I'd ask him, what about this? Weren't you scared this or weren't you scared that? And he'd talk about you have to, train well. So I think that's a nod for content creators. Get preparation and trust your preparation. And then also a lot of people don't know that the first Black Navy SEAL was actually the great grandson of 2 Civil War Union soldiers. 2. If people want to read more about that, they can check out the story on hiphoptruth.com. But I want to call out that his maternal great-grandfather, Daniel Hamlin, in 1863 signed up to be a Union soldier and was the only Black soldier in his unit. A screenshot of his records is on hiphoptruth.com. And nearly 100 years later to the year, right? William Harvey Goens agreed to become the first Black Navy SEAL on the first set of SEAL teams ever when JFK formed them. It was 99 years later that his great grandson, becomes the only Black in his unit, again fighting for freedom. Also, he had descended from an enslaved person who was emancipated and ran from Virginia to Ohio. He ends up going back from Ohio to Virginia, pursuing freedom. So just wanted to absolutely shout him out and acknowledge his story. I'm going to be quiet now because, like I said, it's
we love that. That's history, and hearing things like this is so important, because I always look back especially like when I was a kid growing up, we didn't have these type of heroes where we could emulate and want to see that their success, can be achievable. So when you give light to, someone who's courageous, because it took a lot of courage, even just, we know how hard being a Navy SEAL is, period. And it's a lot of discipline, a lot of, you got to be not just in shape, but, mentally tough. And to get on, when the first ones are coming in, knowing something is historic like that. Wow. That's all I can say is wow. And I think a lot more should be told about, history, and start getting it out there to, and it was great when I saw it on when the New York Times actually did, that article on it. So just, and the thing and being in DC, and what I started to notice when a lot of people are coming to the White House and get recognition even after, their passing, it's because people push the narrative of their story as well, because, and, not letting them be forgotten about. So I think, you're going to do a great job of pushing it as well, Sharice. And, if we can help in any way, just definitely I'm there to expand his, because what I do think it gives, young Black kids or kids who are of color, who don't think, like, when you see Navy SEALs, you don't see anybody that's like us, in the forefront of the pictures, or when it's talked about, and those things, it mean a lot. And, when you want to achieve something, you have to look at people who've been there before for them to inspire you to do the things as well. So I definitely love to see, you push it more, and we'll be behind you with it as well.
I really appreciate that. Yes, in fact, anyone tuning in, I have been told by my elders that me and my cousin are the historians for the Goens line, Uncle Billy's mom's brother, and he's part of why I went to Hampton. But there's a lot in the story, not just because he's my uncle, but there is a lot, and there are people working on telling a story, but as far as telling it from a family standpoint, the Goens family standpoint,
I'm sorry. I know in a minute we're gonna see him have his own section over there in the African American Museum in here in DC, that big Smithsonian place.
Funny you say that. He does. He has a sizable display at the African American Museum, the Smithsonian, and when I was a kid. He does. Good. And he was actually in the regular Smithsonian before they built the African American Smithsonian. And mom took us, we went to DC when I was little, and I just knew Uncle Billy was in the Navy, right? Mm-hmm. And we're looking at the display in the regular Smithsonian, and I'm thinking it's a uniform like the one he wore. Well, fast forward, graduate, go to Hampton, and I needed to do something for military history for my own officer training, rubbing a scar here that I got doing that. And I was asking him about his uniform, and he was like, "Oh no, darling, I gave all of that to Smithsonian years ago." And I was like, "Wait a minute, like record scratch moment."
Uniform. Just push past that real quick. Yeah, see that my officer training. She doesn't even. She never rarely acknowledges that she is a veteran that serves our country. Yeah. We have to take a moment and a pause. Tomorrow people will be barbecuing, or like here in Louisiana, will be thanking God that the Hurricane Burrell is not headed here. And same thing with Florida. They'll be thanking God that the hurricane that was supposed to hit over the next few days is not going to hit us and it's weakening. So as people are outside acknowledging, the independence that we do have, as much as challenging as it is, we are not under a dictatorship yet. So we have to acknowledge that. And the people that protect that independence are veterans, of which Sharice just casually said that not only was she a veteran, but she was an officer.
No, I left after that. After my casualty and my arm in half, I'll be honest, I did leave. But I did serve. I did HUA. I did train. I did obstacle. I did weaponry and all of the things. I was actually trying to be like Uncle Billy. And when when my arm got broken, he was right there at my bedside, loving on his darling, as he called me. And he called his nieces. But thank you for acknowledging my service. And then, yes, as we look at Independence Day, and
I think you said hua. It feels like you say your sorority louder than you say your veteran.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
I do.
I'm just saying.
I do. I absolutely do. Absolutely. And also the hua, I mean, we're in a broadcast, so I'm not going to ski-wee loud here.
But see, as you said, I'm not going to ski-wee loud.
Yeah. You can't,
Is that where Sexy Red is that where Sexy Red get it from?
And back to the
first open a whole other door.
The highlight for 4th of July, everybody that's going to do content, if you think about it, or if you see some relevance in William Harvey Goens' story, there's a lot of connections. You can check it out on hiphoptruth.com. But if you're into music, there's some music relevance from his story. All about that Civil War and all that. It's descendant of two Civil War soldiers. All that.
Real quick, you can say that you actually know the real Black Navy SEAL, not the one that LL Cool J portrays on NCIS.
Yeah.
Yes. William Harvey Goens is a actual real Black Navy SEAL. And I also want to give love and thanks to the SEALs because his services were beautiful.
They have saved our butts. Oh, sorry.
I mean, they do so much that people don't realize. Uncle Bill used to say, you don't become a SEAL for a parade. You don't become a SEAL for everyone to know how hard you worked and how much you sacrificed. But they do so much that we never even hear about, and so there's that. Uncle Billy went to Vietnam 3 times. I say, what did you do there? He'll tell me one. I don't know what happened on the other 2. One, he's like, yeah, I trained on one of the missions. I trained people in martial arts and taught martial arts. Which one? Okay, so what about the other 2 missions? Yeah, darling, that's what I did. Are you hungry? You want to talk? So there's so much that this supposed to do that we don't know about. So I think with Independence Day being tomorrow, but that it's a great time to highlight everyone who served. But if we don't talk, I don't think in this country enough about the brown and black and yellow people who have also sacrificed. And then I did want to thank, if this ends up being watched by anyone who is a Navy SEAL, because they did come out for Uncle Billy in his services and show him a lot of love.
Amen.
Yeah.
Good. Nice.
We should develop a what do you call it? A citizen shout that we do to support the military. We gotta figure that out. We gotta figure it.
Oh, like a call to show
that the non-military family member does, to just say, like it's like a thank you, so.
I agree. I agree. I think that's needed.
Relevant.
When we see them, because it's almost not quite. A lot of people don't feel that they should salute,
Right.
But something, so something that's you feel like
as
good.
citizens, we do a piss poor job of celebrating. And it's not just us as citizens, but it's every group, I think, does a piss poor job, except the Irish. The Irish Jamaicans, they celebrate. But everybody else,
It's a lot. We got work to do. So thanks everybody for jumping in with us. The key takeaways, remember, give yourself lead time to do your actual promotion and your story. 12 plus weeks is good. Your folks will not get sick of it. They won't see it nearly as much as you think. Do it. Find ways for you to understand the different people in your audiences, segment them. Also, be sure that you're talking about it, but how do you get other people to talk about what you're doing? And as we get into this Independence Day, we've given a lot of love and much love to William Harvey Goens, Master Chief William Harvey Goens, the first Black Navy SEAL. Also, one of the first SEALs ever on the original sets of SEALs that JFK formed. His story has relevance to hip hop, music. He was a mentee to poet laureate Nikki Giovanni's father. He's a descendant of 2 Civil War soldiers. And so there's a lot. And so make sure you're telling your whole story and living your whole story. He absolutely did it. Absolutely did. So do it, kill it, rock it. Thanks for jumping in with us.